John Kelly for the Boxing Channel alongside Hall of Fame broadcaster Al Bernstein, set for another edition of Hot Topics, talking about the latest news and events in the world of boxing. And a couple of years ago, Al, it looked like a slam dunk. We would see a Floyd Mayweather Jr. take on Manny Pacquiao in a fight everyone wanted to see. Will we ever see a Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? And more importantly, does it matter this time?
Yeah, are we over this? Are we over the idea of Pacquiao fighting Mayweather? Well, at some point I may have said, yes, everybody's over it. I've now changed my mind. I don't think everybody's over it. And I don't think it matters that many people believe Manny Pacquiao isn't quite the fighter he was a couple years ago, and that Mayweather's more of a prohibitive favorite than he might have been before. I don't think that matters, because if Manny Pacquiao can beat Brandon Rios and, you know, move ahead in boxing, I think that people will want to see Manny Pacquiao fight Mayweather. And more importantly, you see teensy little signs like Bob Arum throwing an olive branch to Mayweather and trying to throw out there the idea that somehow this fight could be made. You know, I just see teensy little signs that maybe, just maybe, if Pacquiao can get himself a really impressive performance, he may still be in the hunt for a Mayweather fight.
Where would the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight take place?
Yeah, a better question is, where would it be shown on television? Because Pacquiao's an HBO fighter, and of course Mayweather is a Showtime fighter, and that's a big issue. But I'm sure it would be in Las Vegas, and that's a big part of it. Mayweather has the whip hand here, and so he will get most of what he wants, whether it's the location of the fight, probably the dividing up of the money. And I don't know how they'll do the network situation. Listen, I have a dog in this hunt. I'm with Showtime, and I've been doing the Mayweather fights. But I have to say, I don't know how they will figure that out. They did it once before, John, when Tyson fought Lewis, and the two networks collaborated on a pay-per-view. This is not the most collaborative world we live in now, in the world of boxing or networks. So I don't know how they do it, but I think at the end of the day, if they both want to do it, and if Mayweather signs off on it, I think somehow they might find a way to do it. But more importantly, I think people still want it.
And if they want it, they should get it. Mayweather-Pacquiao
I'm
fight,
game.
Yeah, would draw big numbers, I think, in terms of pay-per-view, no doubt. What about the odds on the fight? Mayweather and Pacquiao a couple of years ago, as you said, like a fight, lay $1.10 either way. How big a favorite would Mayweather be this time around?
Well, you're better on the odds and the gaming part of sports, but I'm going to say Mayweather could be as much as a 3-1 favorite in this fight. I really believe that that's possible, because I think the perception now is that Mayweather, at his age, even at 36, headed toward 37, has weathered better. Pacquiao's been in more wars, and I think for the most part, most people feel like the skill set of Mayweather could deal with Pacquiao.
And I assume a fight that would likely go the distance, correct?
I don't know. You know, Mayweather never gets knockouts, or very seldom gets knockouts. But and Pacquiao will certainly be trying to land big power punches. But you would think it would go the distance. But this is one where we might get a surprise, if it ever happens, that is.
Hot topic number 2, and a fighter we know we'll see in the future, Deontay Wilder, perfect 30-0 with 30 knockouts, a heavyweight who fights for Golden Boy. His claim to fame, the only American to capture a medal in the 2008 Olympic Games. Deontay Wilder, legitimate or fraudulent? How would you characterize his mark so far?
Well, offensively, he's certainly legitimate. We've seen it, even though among his 30 wins and 30 knockouts, there are not many names of not only name fighters, but fighters who are at the top of their game. Still, we know offensively he's a bit of a machine. What we don't know about Deontay Wilder is how well he can take a punch. And inevitably, in all the years I've been announcing boxing and covering it, you never know with a heavyweight fighter whether he's going to really be the goods until someone has hit him with a powerful punch. And no one's really done that with Wilder. The best names on his resume, people like Owen Beck and Sergey Lykovich, who were once top heavyweights. Lykovich was even a champion. Weren't really, they were shells of themselves when they fought Wilder. And so he's going to have to be tested in the next fight or two.
Better to be an offensive heavyweight fighter, Al, or a defensive heavyweight fighter?
Well, at the end of the day, yeah, offense is vital as a heavyweight, but at the end of the day, your defense helps you because you're going to be hit on the chin at some point. it's actually more than just defense. It's whether you can take a shot from another heavyweight. We saw recently Seth Mitchell, a converted football player who did get some certain skill sets, but just couldn't take punches. And the big question was going to be with Wilder whether that can happen. And they're talking about him fighting somebody like Duran or Chris Arreola, who is a big puncher. And I think those are the kinds of fights we want to see and need to see from Wilder before he would move ahead and get an opportunity to fight for a title.
We finish this segment with a look back at the four fighters known affectionately as the Four Kings: Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, and Duran. Is this generation's fight fans giving the Four Kings their just due?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, the folks now that are watching boxing that are, let's say, younger than 30, have kind of started, I think, to nibble around the edges of the reputations of the Four Kings and do a little bit of reinvention or rewriting of history, because they're kind of denigrating a little bit of what those men really did. And part of it is because they see Floyd Mayweather and the old-timer Bernard Hopkins currently now, who talk about being among the greatest pound for pound. And I think sometimes in making the argument, they tend to denigrate the Four Kings a bit. And I'm here to tell you, because I saw those men fight, that they were nothing short of spectacular. And sometimes we can look nostalgically back at athletes or fighters and build up what they did a little bit more. I don't think that's the case with the Four Kings. They were very, very special.
An appropriate name, the Four Kings,
yeah.
Speaking of their royalty. I mentioned the order: Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, and Duran, just rolled off the tongue. What is the proper order for those four?
There's a $64,000 question. I guess you have to say Leonard first, because at the end of the day, he did better in the round robin than all of them. And many people believe, and I believe, he's one of the best 5 or 6 pound for pound fighters ever in the history of the sport. And Marvin Hagler, to me, would be right there, edging near him, because he was, dominant as a middleweight, and despite the very narrow, and I call it a narrow loss to Ray Leonard, despite what Jojo Guerra's scorecard said, he was a spectacular fighter. And Tommy Hearns, fantastic, and but for a few little training glitches, in my opinion, could have gone through his career undefeated. But he was a spectacular fighter, and Duran is Duran, And the only thing about Duran is how highly you rate him when you move up to 147 or even 154 or 160, where he won the title against Iran Barkley in a stirring fight. There's one of the classic fights of all time. What I always tell the younger people that are thinking about these guys, there's 2 words for you: YouTube. Go to YouTube and watch the fights that they participated in. And if you don't come away impressed, I'll be shocked.
What about today's biggest name fighter, Floyd Mayweather Jr.? Does he belong in the same sentence as the Four Kings?
Well, here's the thing. If you ask me how would he fare against those fighters, and I'll take some heat for this probably from some folks, I don't believe he wins again. Well, Hagler's much too big for him to begin with. He's a true middleweight, so that fight we can kind of rule out. I believe that Leonard and Hearns both win against Floyd Mayweather, and I think that Roberto Duran, in his prime, who fought the first fight with Ray Leonard, who was just a machine, would probably beat Mayweather. But here's the thing about Duran: you never knew what kind of shape he was going to come in at. And if Floyd Mayweather catches him in an off moment, certainly Floyd's capable of winning. And I don't mean any of this to denigrate Floyd Mayweather. He's a brilliant, brilliant fighter. Some of those men, I think, had some physical attributes that would trouble him, and in some cases they're just spectacular fighters. So I don't believe Mayweather in a round robin would fare well with them, but obviously Mayweather is one of the greats of the last several decades.
That'll wrap up another edition of Hot Topics. For Showtime boxing analyst Al Bernstein, I'm John Kelly, reporting for the Boxing Channel.